Everybody always talks about Haku. I'm sure you've been around him a lot. If you can give us some kind of crazy instance around Haku where you might have seen him go off the rails, because these are some things that we actually did get a Haku question for you. But while we have you and we're talking the Samoans, we're talking the crazy nature of anybody trying to pick a fight with them, give us a Haku story if you can.
Well, just to underscore what you just said, you'd be better off picking a fight with the U.S. Army than with Haku or the Samoan family. But Haku, I'll say up front, he's a sweetheart. I love him to death. He's such a great guy, an incredible performer in the ring, incredibly strong. I was a kid in 1990 when I went up there, and I was working with him almost every night. And my God, he put me over strong. And I've always appreciated that from him. But at that same time in 1990, we went to a trip to St. Louis. Had a show in St. Louis. And afterwards, all the boys were going across to East St. Louis, which is right near Ferguson, where all that happened a few years ago. And we're in a bar packed wall-to-wall people. Me, Big Boss Man, and Mr. Perfect drove over together. And long story short, this guy kept coming over to get a chair that Haku was saving for his friends. And, the first couple times it was sort of cordial. Third or fourth time, the guy said, yeah, he cut him off like before Haku could say anything. Yeah, I know you're saving it for your friend, but I haven't seen any fucking buddy sitting here. And he went to try to pull the chair away. Haku jumped up out of the chair and grabbed him up under his chin. I always thought that was like a work move. And he grabbed him up under the chin, and this guy, like his arms and he went tight, like he was spastic, and eyeballs big as a house. And all of a sudden, chairs started flying, and bouncers started coming out of the woodwork. Perfect got hit in the head with a flying chair or table and got busted open. So I have this visual in my head of seeing Kurt in the middle of the floor with his crimson hair, and Big Boss Man, Ray Trader, who, sweet guy, sorry he's gone. One of the biggest guys with a little boy voice. He grabs me and pushes me against the wall and goes, "Hey, let's get out of here." So we're sliding down along the wall, and I'm watching this like a movie. Chairs and bodies and everything flying in front of us. We finally get outside, and there's like 10 cop cars pouring. The bar's emptying out. The cops all pour in. There 20, 25 cops. And it sounded like there's still a riot going on inside. And, everybody's outside. Well, a few minutes later, they come out, like a massive cops. All you see is badges in blue. And there's 2 on each of Haku's arms, 2 on his legs. One's got him by the hair. And he's still fighting with them. They put him on his knees in front of the bar. And like the captain or the sergeant or whoever the boss was of the cops came walking up, and he pulled out Haku's on his knees in front of him being held like spread eagle. This guy pulls out his baton and flicks it open, pulls it from back behind his ass, and smacks Haku right upside the face with it. And I'm thinking, man, he's gonna knock him out. Haku sold it, like his head snapped over to the right, and he looked back and like a bull. Just breathed out and went crazy. And the cops all pulled the mace out, and they, 10 cops emptied their cans of mace right into his face. And if you go back to 1990, you'll see there's a period, 90 into 91, when Haku has a great big purple jelly bean on his face. That's what it's from. That was from that night there. So when I saw that, I thought, if he wants to break you in half in the ring, he can. So do whatever he wants. But sweetest guy in the world. I mean, he's just a really, really gentle soul, except when you get him mad.
Oh, my God. That's unbelievable. And that's what I love about hearing these stories with Haku. The legends are true. I mean, this is not like, over time, it was like a Paul Bunyan style thing. Like, every story you hear about Haku, they all tie into each other, one after the other.
Yeah, and if anything, far from embellishing, we're probably not doing it justice. I'm sure I'm missing a lot of points, but yeah, all those guys, just over the course. I'll tell you a ton of stories over the course of the podcast. But yeah, these guys were great guys. But from my understanding, was if they started drinking whiskey, it was best to get away from them, because if they look at you for some reason and just get the wrong thought, you're liable to end up dead. So, but Haku and I have been dear friends for 30 years. I really love him.
And it's funny too, because then our tie-in with Haku, John's talked to Haku a couple of times. about either doing the two-man power trip show or about some of the other events that we work. And John, I know this is an easy question for me to ask you because I know our conversations, but it took a couple of phone calls, but by the time you felt like you and Haku were, you guys were like old buddies.
Yeah, I was surprised because obviously, like Shane just said, that awesome story where he's fighting off guys, or he's like a caged animal at times, where he can be crazy, or he's using that spike. But he's what a nice guy, so friendly, so open and honest, and just kind of like shooting the shit with him. It was really cool. It was almost surprising though, given his reputation. They were like, oh my god, like you can't believe on the other end of the phone it's Haku.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't surprise me in the least, John. And now I'll say this just in the doctrine of fairness. For every time I saw Haku do that, the 4 or 5 times over the long history I've had with him, 1,000 times more I've seen him be the sweetheart guy. Very fun to hang out with, all that. But the guys, like all the guys, they have to get to when you're on the road 330, 40, 50 days a year. You have to blow off steam, and when you do, some people do it by going to the room and sleeping, and others go and do it drinking, and what happens afterwards. I don't want to imply in any way that Haku's like not a good person. Right? He's a fantastic human being. All of us. I'm sure somebody could tell you a lot of other stories that make all of us sound bad. But I never thought of in my head of Haku being a bad person, because I always thought of him as just being a badass. That was somebody to respect, and just a really gentle, sweet soul underneath that.